Listen to me carefully, because this isn't just another motivational talk. This is a wake-up call. You've been lied to. You've been programmed to believe that freedom is something you get, when in reality, it's something you take. You were born into a system that tells you what to think, how to live, and what's acceptable. From the moment you open your eyes, they feed you distractions, entertainment, comfort, validation, anything to keep you weak. But real men, real warriors, real conquerors don't ask for permission to be free. They take it. They fight for it. They earn it through pain, discipline, and absolute control of their own mind. You see, freedom isn't about money. It's about power. The power to say no, no to the system, no to fear, no to mediocrity. The world wants you silent, compliant, and comfortable, because comfort kills ambition. You're trapped not because of the world around you, but because of the weakness within you. They've convinced you that working a job you hate, eating garbage food, and wasting your nights scrolling through meaningless videos is normal. It's not normal. It's slavery. Mental slavery disguised as convenience. And the only way out is to break the chains of your own habits. Take back your freedom by mastering yourself. Wake up early, hit the gym, read, build something that belongs to you. Every rep, every decision, every sacrifice, that's a step toward independence. Discipline is the purest form of freedom, because when you control your mind, nobody else can. Most people live like prisoners in invisible cages. Cages built out of excuses, fear, and laziness. But I refuse to live that way. You should too. You're not a slave. You're not a victim. You are a weapon, but you've forgotten how sharp you can be. The truth is, the system doesn't fear your money. It fears your mindset. Once a man stops caring what society thinks, once he starts thinking for himself, he becomes uncontrollable. That's real power. You don't get freedom by begging. You get it by becoming too strong to be controlled. You become so disciplined, so focused, so self-reliant that the world can't break you anymore. So ask yourself, what's controlling you right now? Is it fear? Is it laziness? Is it other people's opinions? Because the second you stop letting those things run your life, you win. Most men will die, never tasting freedom, because they're too scared to offend anyone, too scared to take risks, too scared to fail. But freedom isn't safe. It's dangerous. It demands sacrifice, hunger, and courage. It demands that you stand alone when everyone else is bowing down. The reality is simple. No one's coming to save you. Not the government, not your boss, not your friends. You are the only one who can free yourself. You want freedom. Then stop consuming and start creating. Stop following and start leading. Stop waiting and start taking action. The world belongs to the man who claims it with his bare hands, not to the one who waits for permission. Freedom begins the moment you decide to master yourself. Not when the world changes, not when circumstances improve, but when you take full control of your own mind. Every man wants to be free, but most are prisoners. Not of chains or bars, but of their own habits, emotions, and fears. The hardest prison to escape is the one built inside your head. You say you want freedom, yet you wake up late, you procrastinate, you give in to distraction. That's not freedom. That's self-imposed slavery. You can't rule your world until you rule your mind, because the man who cannot command himself will always be commanded by someone else. Ask yourself, how can you ever dominate life when you can't even dominate your morning? How can you lead others when you can't even lead yourself? The truth stings because deep down, you know it's true. You've let weakness become your comfort zone. You've let emotions dictate your actions. Every time you hit snooze, every time you scroll mindlessly, every time you choose comfort over commitment, you're giving away a piece of your power. And the more pieces you give away, the smaller you become. That's how most men die. Not in one big defeat, but slowly, quietly, in 1,000 small moments of surrender. Real freedom begins with control. Control of your mind, control of your time, control of your energy. It's not glamorous. It's not loud. It's the silent battle no one sees. When you force yourself to get up while everyone else sleeps, when you train even when you're tired, when you stay focused while the world chases pleasure. Those are the invisible victories that separate free men from the enslaved. Discipline is not punishment. It's the highest form of self-respect. Because when you master yourself, no one can touch you. The system wants you to believe that freedom is external, that you'll find it in wealth, fame, or possessions. But that's the biggest lie of all. You can have all the money in the world and still be a slave to fear, to lust, to addiction, to other people's opinions. A man ruled by temptation will always kneel before something weaker than himself. The real kings are the ones who bow to nothing but purpose. They control their impulses, they silence their doubts, and they move with precision. That's what separates the powerful from the powerless. Every great man you admire has one thing in common. They've mastered themselves. They've conquered their urges, their emotions, their excuses. They've looked their weakness in the eye and said, "You don't control me anymore." That's the turning point when you stop negotiating with your own mind. Freedom is not doing whatever you feel. Freedom is doing what you've decided, no matter how you feel. You can't rise above the world if you can't rise above your own thoughts. Here's the truth most people can't handle. Your mind is either your greatest ally or your deadliest enemy. If you don't control it, it will control you. And it's ruthless. It will convince you to give up, to settle, to stay small. That's why self-mastery is the most important skill you'll ever develop. The man who controls his mind controls his destiny. He doesn't react, he responds. He doesn't chase validation, he creates it. He doesn't follow, he leads. That's the mindset of a free man. Untouchable, disciplined, unshakable. So when I say take back your freedom, I don't mean run away from the system. I mean conquer yourself first. Because once you do, no system, no person, no situation can cage you again. You become the master of your reality. You move with clarity. You act with purpose. You stop being a slave to moods, impulses, and fear. And that's when you finally start living like a lion among sheep. Self-mastery isn't optional. It's the price you pay for true freedom. Most men will never pay it, but those who do become legends. The system wants you weak. It's not an accident, it's the plan. From the moment you're born, they program you to obey, to comply, to fit in. You're told what to think, how to behave, and what success should look like. They hand you a script, go to school, get a job, pay taxes, stay quiet, retire, and die. And they call it freedom. But that's not freedom. That's a cage with invisible walls built to make you feel safe while stealing your potential. They don't need to lock you up if they can train you to never leave. And most people don't even realize they're trapped because their prison comes with comfort, entertainment, and convenience. That's the genius of control. It doesn't feel like control. You're fed distractions like junk food for your brain. Endless scrolling, meaningless drama, cheap dopamine hits that drain your strength. Every notification, every ad, every headline is designed to keep you passive. Because the truth is, a focused man is dangerous. A disciplined mind is powerful, so they distract you. They flood you with noise so you never have time to think, never have time to question, never have time to rebel. The system thrives when you're too tired, too entertained, too afraid to fight back. And the more comfort they feed you, the weaker you become. Look around. People are asleep with their eyes open. They wake up, rush to jobs they hate, work for people they don't respect, just to buy things they don't need. They trade their dreams for paychecks and call it being responsible. But what's responsible about wasting your life? What's noble about surrendering your freedom for security? That's the lie. They've convinced you that safety is success, when in reality, safety is submission. You think you're free because you can choose your phone, your clothes, your coffee. But the choices that matter, those are already made for you. The path is laid out, and if you dare to step off it, society calls you crazy. The system fears independent thinkers. It fears strong men who refuse to bow because once you stop depending on it, you become uncontrollable. And the truth is, they can't enslave you if you don't play their game. That's why they attack masculinity, discipline, and ambition, because those are the tools that break chains. They want you soft, compliant, easily offended, addicted to validation. They want you chasing pleasure instead of purpose. They want you numbed by comfort so you never realize how much power you truly have. You have to wake up from the illusion. Every time you skip the gym, every time you binge on distractions, every time you let laziness win, the system wins. They don't need to fight you when you're fighting yourself. The real rebellion is self-control. The real revolution is saying, no, I won't live like this anymore. You take back your power by taking responsibility, by choosing discipline over dopamine, by saying no to everything that makes you weaker. because every decision either strengthens you or enslaves you. There's no middle ground. They want you to be afraid, afraid to fail, afraid to offend, afraid to stand out. But courage is the antidote to control. The moment you stop caring what they think, you become free. The moment you stop chasing approval, you become powerful. The moment you start living by your own rules, you become untouchable. You can't be manipulated when your validation comes from within. And that's exactly what they don't want. A man who thinks for himself, who doesn't need permission to act, who doesn't flinch in the face of pressure. That man is chaos to the system. So understand, the war isn't fought with weapons, it's fought with influence, distraction, and fear. They're not trying to break your body, they're trying to break your will. But if you stay sharp, if you keep your focus, if you train your mind like a weapon, they can't touch you. True power is awareness, seeing the game for what it is and refusing to be played. The world wants you weak because a weak man is predictable. But a strong man, a disciplined man, a free man, that man rewrites the rules. Be that man. Be the one they can't control. Pain is the price of power. There's no shortcut, no hack, no secret formula that can replace suffering. Every ounce of real strength is forged in discomfort. Every successful man you admire has walked through fire while others ran for shade. The truth is simple. Pain builds men, comfort destroys them. You can't rise without resistance. You can't evolve without struggle. Pain is the test that separates the talkers from the doers, the weak from the warriors, the lost from the leaders. It's life's way of asking you how badly you really want what you say you want. And most people fail that test because they crave ease more than excellence. When you understand that pain is not your enemy, but your greatest teacher, your mindset shifts forever. Every hardship, every betrayal, every sleepless night, they're not there to break you, they're there to build you. The problem is, most people spend their entire lives running from pain, not realizing that by avoiding it, they're avoiding growth. Every time you choose comfort over challenge, you're choosing weakness over wisdom. You're saying no to evolution. You're saying no to power. You cannot grow inside a comfort zone. It's called that for a reason. Nothing extraordinary happens there. Pain strips you down to your core. It exposes who you really are. When things go wrong, when plans collapse, when everything feels like it's against you, that's when you meet your real self. That's when the mask comes off. And if you can keep fighting in those moments, if you can stay disciplined, focused, and hungry despite the chaos, that's when you earn respect from the universe. That's when the world starts to bend for you because you've proven you can handle it. Life rewards the man who refuses to quit. The man who looks pain in the eyes and says, "Is that all you've got?" You have to rewire your relationship with pain. Stop seeing it as a punishment. See it as an investment. Every drop of sweat in the gym, every hour spent perfecting your craft, every rejection that fuels your comeback, it's all currency. You're paying now for a future that most people can't afford because they never paid the price. Comfort costs nothing, but it gives you nothing. Pain costs everything, but it gives you power, purpose, and pride. The kind of pride that comes from knowing you earned every inch of your success. There's a reason the weak stay weak. They seek pleasure in every moment, never realizing that the search for comfort is what's killing them. They avoid pain today, but they live in regret tomorrow. The strong, on the other hand, embrace struggle. They find beauty in the grind. They understand that behind every great achievement lies a mountain of pain no one saw. And that's what makes victory so sweet. Because it wasn't given, it was fought for. Every scar, every loss, every failure becomes part of your armor. You stop being afraid of pain because you've learned it can't destroy you. It can only refine you. There's something almost sacred about suffering when you use it the right way, when you channel it, when you let it carve away the weakness and leave behind only focus and fire. Most people don't get it. They think you're crazy for pushing yourself so hard. They don't understand why you choose to work when you could rest, why you train when you could relax, why you fight when you could give up. But that's exactly why they'll never taste the kind of freedom you're fighting for. You see, pain introduces you to power, but only if you're willing to face it head on. So the next time you feel pain, remember, this is your moment. This is where you either become the victim or the victor. This is where you separate yourself from the masses who crumble under pressure. Pain doesn't stop champions, it creates them. It's the silent mentor that doesn't care about your comfort, only your growth. And if you can endure it, if you can embrace it, if you can learn to love it, you'll find that pain isn't your punishment, it's your path to greatness. Because every time you walk through the fire and come out stronger, you're not just surviving, you're evolving. Discipline is the ultimate freedom. Most people will never understand that because they've been taught that freedom means doing whatever they want, whenever they want. But that kind of freedom is an illusion. It's chaos disguised as choice. True freedom isn't about doing what you feel. It's about doing what's necessary, even when every cell in your body screams to stop. Freedom doesn't come from escaping responsibility. It comes from mastering it. The man who lives by discipline doesn't need motivation. He moves with purpose, with clarity, with power. He is free because nothing owns him. Not laziness, not fear, not excuses. The weak confuse discipline with restriction, but it's the opposite. Discipline is control, and control is power. The man who can make himself do what others won't achieves what others can't. Every time you say no to temptation, you strengthen your will. Every time you follow through on your promises to yourself, you build character. Discipline is self-respect in motion. It's you proving to yourself that your word means something. When you say you'll wake up early, train, work, or study, and you do it, that's freedom. Because now your feelings don't dictate your future, your principles do. The undisciplined man wakes up every day as a slave to emotions, to comfort, to impulse. He hits snooze because it feels good. He eats garbage because it tastes good. He skips the grind because it's hard. And every time he gives in, he loses a little more of himself. That's not freedom. That's submission. That's living on your knees to the things that make you weak. The disciplined man, on the other hand, suffers in the short term to win in the long term. He embraces discomfort because he knows it's the bridge to strength. He understands that every sacrifice today builds a version of himself that others will never catch. Here's the paradox. The more rules you have for yourself, the freer you become. Because once you control your urges, the world loses its grip on you. You're no longer seduced by distraction or broken by failure. You move through life with an unshakable calm because you've already fought the hardest battle, the one inside your mind. That's what discipline gives you: peace through power. When you command yourself, no one else can command you. That's the kind of freedom kings and warriors understood long before the modern world turned men into addicts of comfort. Think about it. The man who relies on motivation will always lose to the man who relies on discipline. Motivation fades. It's emotional. It's temporary. But discipline is eternal. It's the steel in your spine when you're tired, the voice in your head that says keep going when everything else says quit. It's what carries you through the days when nothing feels worth it. And when you build your life on that foundation, nothing can shake it. That's why the disciplined man always wins. Not because he's lucky, not because he's gifted, but because he's consistent. He shows up every day, whether he feels like it or not. You can't fake discipline. It shows in how you live, how you work, how you carry yourself. It's written in your body, your habits, your results. When you walk into a room, people can sense it. They can feel that you move with control, not chaos, that you act with purpose, not emotion. Discipline radiates authority. It commands respect without words. Because people know deep down that it's rare. In a world full of comfort seekers, the disciplined man is a lion among sheep. He doesn't need validation. His results speak for him. So, if you want to take back your freedom, build discipline like your life depends on it, because it does. Every time you choose structure over slackness, every time you conquer your impulses, you win another piece of yourself back. You become someone who can't be swayed by pleasure, panic, or pressure. The man who is disciplined doesn't fear losing control because he is control. That's real freedom. Not the freedom to do whatever you want, but the freedom to do what must be done no matter the cost. That's where power begins. When discipline becomes your nature and freedom becomes your reward. Stop asking for permission. Nobody is coming to hand you success. Nobody is going to open the door and invite you to greatness. The world doesn't reward hesitation. It rewards action. The truth is brutal. If you wait for approval, you'll wait forever. Every second you spend seeking validation, you're giving away your power. Life belongs to those who move boldly, to those who take risks, to those who act without waiting for a green light. You can't win playing safe, and you can't rise asking for permission to do so. The world is full of dreamers, but very few are doers, because most people are too afraid of what others will think. Fear of judgment is the invisible leash that keeps men from running free. You were not born to follow orders. You were born to lead, to create, to build. Yet most people live like they're waiting for someone to tell them it's okay to start living. They want guarantees before they move. They want applause before they act. And they want certainty before they take the leap. But that's not how life works. The universe doesn't give approval. It gives opportunity. And only those who seize it without hesitation will ever taste real freedom. You can't be extraordinary while asking ordinary people if it's okay. Greatness doesn't come from permission, it comes from rebellion. Every time you seek validation, you're handing over control of your destiny. When you let someone else's opinion decide what you can or can't do, you become their slave. The truth is, most people who judge you aren't doing better than you. They're just louder. They don't want you to win because your success reminds them of their own surrender. So they'll criticize, they'll laugh, they'll doubt. And you'll have two choices: stay small to make them comfortable, or rise so high that their opinions can't reach you. Never let small minds shrink your vision. Never let fear silence your fire. You don't need anyone's approval to chase your purpose. You don't need a crowd to believe in you. You just need belief in yourself. The greatest men in history were ridiculed before they were respected. Every innovator, every leader, every warrior was called crazy before the world called them genius. The difference between them and everyone else was simple. They moved anyway. They didn't wait for a good time. They made time. They didn't wait for support. They built momentum. They didn't wait to feel ready. They acted while they were scared. And that's why they conquered. The world is designed to keep you obedient. From school to the workplace, you're trained to follow, not lead. You're taught to raise your hand for permission, to wait your turn to fit in. But you can't make history following rules made to keep you average. Every great empire, every legendary achievement started with one person who refused to wait. They didn't ask Kai. They said, "Watch me." And that's the energy you need, the defiance, the self-belief, the unshakable conviction that you decide your fate. Stop explaining your dreams to people who lack the vision to understand them. Stop shrinking yourself so others won't feel insecure. You owe it to yourself to go all in, even when no one claps for you. There's power in being misunderstood because it means you're doing something different. The road to freedom is lonely, but it's pure. It's you against the noise, you against the opinions, you against the fear. But once you break through, you realize that permission was never the problem. It was your hesitation. So, act now, build now, speak now, because every moment you hesitate, someone else is taking what could have been yours. The clock doesn't stop for indecision. You're not here to live by someone else's standards. You're here to create your own. You don't need the world to tell you it's your time. It becomes your time the moment you decide it is. The man who stops asking for permission becomes unstoppable. He becomes his own authority, his own motivation, his own validation. And when you reach that point, when you move with absolute confidence and conviction, that's when freedom becomes your default state. Create a life they can't control. That's the mission. That's the real revolution. You were never meant to be a cog in someone else's machine, living on their schedule, chasing their approval. You were born to build, to own, to command your existence. But the system doesn't want that. It wants dependency. It wants you trapped in cycles of routine, chasing paychecks, bills, and fleeting pleasures while your potential rots away. They tell you freedom is having weekends off or a stable job. But that's not freedom. That's a leash with a longer chain. Real freedom is ownership. Ownership of your mind, your time, your income, your destiny. You have to stop renting your life to people who don't value it. Every hour you trade away to build someone else's dream is an hour stolen from your own. The system thrives when you stay distracted, entertained, and controlled, because a distracted man doesn't question. He just consumes. He consumes media, comfort, lies, and illusions. But the day you decide to create instead of consume, everything changes. When you start building something that belongs to you, your business, your body, your skills, your legacy, you become dangerous because now they can't pull the strings anymore. You've cut the cord of dependency. The world fears independent thinkers because they're unpredictable. You can't manipulate a man who feeds himself, thinks for himself, and moves by his own code. That's why every force around you tries to make you compliant. Your education, your job, your social environment, they reward obedience, not vision. They celebrate those who stay quiet and punish those who challenge the norm. But the truth is, every man who ever changed the world started as a rebel. He stopped waiting for opportunities and created them. He stopped following orders and started issuing them. Building your own life isn't easy. It's brutal. It's lonely. It demands sacrifice. You'll be misunderstood, doubted, even mocked. But that's the price of freedom. That's the price of being untouchable. Every night you spend working while others sleep, every risk you take when others play safe, every failure you turn into fuel. That's you building walls around your independence. You're constructing a fortress that no boss, no government, no system can tear down. You're building a life where your choices are yours alone. And that's the most powerful feeling in the world, to wake up knowing that nobody owns your time but you. They want you trapped in debt, trapped in distraction, trapped in fear, because fear keeps you quiet. But when you start creating your own path, the fear fades. You realize you don't need their system needs you. Without your effort, your attention, your obedience, it collapses. The moment you take responsibility for your life, you become the master instead of the servant. Freedom doesn't come from escaping work. It comes from creating work that aligns with your purpose. You stop clocking in for survival and start showing up for legacy. You must build leverage, financial, mental, emotional. When you control your resources, you control your world. When your money comes from your own effort, not someone else's permission, they can't silence you. When your confidence comes from your discipline, not their validation, they can't shake you. When your peace comes from within, not from approval, they can't manipulate you. That's what it means to create a life they can't control. It's not rebellion for the sake of chaos. It's independence built on strength, vision, and unbreakable will. So build yourself into something untouchable. Make your mind so sharp that manipulation slides off it. Make your body so strong that no environment can break it. Make your purpose so clear that no distraction can derail it. The world respects power, and power belongs to those who build it. Don't wait for anyone to hand it to you. Start crafting your empire brick by brick, with discipline as your foundation and courage as your fuel. Because once you own your life, once you build something they can't take away, you don't just live freely, you live fearlessly. That's the highest form of rebellion, the purest expression of strength, to look at the world and say, you can't control me anymore. So today, make the decision. No more chains, no more submission. You're not here to exist, you're here to dominate. Take back your freedom. Not tomorrow, not next week, but now. The world is full of sheep waiting for direction, but lions carve their own path. You are that lion. You are that storm. You are that unstoppable force that cannot be tamed. Stand tall, look life dead in the eye, and say, I am free because I choose to be.